friends, and welcome back to another video, which is part 2 from a video from earlier last year where we look at top 5 changes needed for the Rings of Power Season 2. So of course, yes, this is part 2. So the ranking in today's video is in no particular order. We're just looking at stuff I feel like if these changes are made, it could maybe go on and have an even better second season. So yes, this is all subjective, of course. Let me know in the comments below whether you agree or not, but of course it's fine to agree and disagree. That is all good. So the Discord link to our server is also in the description below. Make sure to like and subscribe, but without further ado, let's get into this list. So at number 5 we have they need to make a decision on where to go with Silmaril, Mithril, whole dynamic and storyline. So for some of you who don't remember, there's this whole thing that really comes in episode 5 around the roots of Hithalgir, I believe that's how you pronounce it, where a Balrog fights off against I believe it is a warrior of Manwë or something like that, or Manwë being one of the Valar, and it results in him fighting a Balrog, which results in somehow Silmaril's going into a tree and then into the earth. I think that's what it is. But the problem around this is that it was one of the more talked about and less approved and liked things, at least from lore fans and Lord of the Rings fans in general, around season 2. So that's the big dilemma, is where do we go with Silmaril Mithril? Where do you leave it going into season 2? So there are a few options actually, and we'll go through them all now. So the first thing is, do you leave it where it is, so you just don't mention it again? Now something in season 1 that never comes up again. We'll never know again why the elves were faded within a few months, or why Silmaril somehow has magical abilities that came from us. Mithril has magical abilities that came from a Silmaril. We just never need to know about it again. That is one option. Of course it is the weak option, but could be beneficial for the show. But of course that means the showrunners won't be going through their thoughts and original ideas. But the counter to that is that they're listening to feedback and realize this was not one of the best ways to lead a second age adaptation of the show, is talking about the effects of Mithril. So maybe you can see it from whichever perspective you want, whether you want strong showrunners sticking to their gut or listening to fans, up to you. Or this is the midway option. Do you retcon it? Is there a way you can just change it or have it so like, okay, no, it's actually this in season 2, but it's quite hard when you say it in actuality. But one way people have even theorized could have been a potential way is just say, do you just make it a lie in the end and say that was a rumor spread by Saron or Adar to cause mistrust within Linden? And of course that is one option. Whether they meant that or not for season 2 to actually be the reason, we don't know, but it is a cop-out way to be like, okay, maybe we got this wrong, so this wasn't the best way, but here's a way to wrap it back up. But at the same time, is that really fair? Because this is what you were planning, let's see what you're going to do with it. That is again up for contention, but saying that, we do know that it's going to be quite hard, as the leaf in that episode in Khazad-dûm between Elrond and Durin was poisoned, but when it moved close to the Mithril, it became unpoisoned again. It became a normal, healthy leaf, which shows that indeed, at least in the Rings of Power canon, that does have some theory, well, it does have a basis to it, that when the poison was near the Mithril, the darkness went away. So of course, a retcon just like forgetting that happened, and it's like, okay, this is what we're going to do now, or do you explain it with the Sauron stuff? I'll leave that up to you guys to let me know. Now, number 4 is seeing more of Numor without the influence of the elves and Galadriel. So, we know going into Numor, it was of course inevitably they had to find a way to link Numor and Middle-earth, even though you could have had them separate for season 1. With Game of Thrones, for example, you had Westeros and Essos, they were mostly separate from most of season 1, the first few seasons, except from letters there and back. But with Numor, we got introduced that through Galadriel and Halbrand. So, by what I mean by having more Numor in season 2, I mean, I think honing in on seeing stuff from Ayardian and Kemen's storyline, I think there's really big potential there from the effects in the future seasons and the payoff, because of course we know the big thing about the Temple of Melkor. Ayardian is the architect, Kemen he's the son of Pharazôn, will he become a Witch King, or not the Witch King, one of the ring wraiths? Will Ayade go down that path and create that and get into Melkor worship? And there's so much stuff here where you go and look at a show and be like, okay, you have to make stuff up. You have to find a way to fill in all these gaps. This is stuff that would actually work, in my opinion. I think would be really good. So I really hope they can tap into that aspect. Also needs a lot more development for Elendil as well, to become more than that. At the start, that petty lord with no significance anymore with his bloodline, with his house. So we need to see at some point Elendil start to rise again, and why he ended up sending and saving and being the leader of the faithful and taking them back. Well, not back, to Middle-earth. So we need to see that, and hopefully that progression, we don't need to see it all in season 2, like him being that straight away, because there's 5 seasons of this show, but we need to at least start seeing some of that starting to come into play, and that political aspect as well. And talking about politics, we need to see more Pharazôn and him scheming finally, because the most important thing with Numenor, I feel like for this season, has to be the payoff of when they have to decide when they want to go and help and save Middle-earth basically from the War of the Elves and Sauron. That has to be the pivotal moment, and I think what the show should be leading up to Numenor. Build up that political unrest, build up those tensions, build up the faithful versus the Kingsmen, build up Numenor separate from the Elves and Middle-earth, whatever's happening there for a bit. Let that unrest build to the point where we do come back to relations with Middle-earth. They're like, okay, what do we have to do? And hopefully it'll be good, character driven, scenes, political moments. It'll be something that hopefully will pay off. And kind of linked into that, number 3, we have hopefully season 2 will be more character driven. And by this I mean that you need the events can't just happen to serve the plot and be coincidental and because of circumstance. Characters need to grow and stuff has to happen more naturally, I believe. And by this I feel like, of course, it's a more surface level of how to explain it, but not all the events in the show should revolve around the actions of Galadriel leading the plot forward. Because I feel like she would do something and then this will result in that happening, because that's what needed to happen. So it got there almost artificially, I felt like, personally. Of course, you can disagree with me, but that's what I felt like. Like, she went on that expedition, got sent to Valinor because of that, and then miraculously, somehow through luck, finding Sauron, went to Numenor, and she's the reason the Numenor army even came over and the Battle of the Southlands even happened. So I just feel like there is a way to progress a plot and story, and not having it be through circumstance would be really, really good. And even allow room to breathe for other characters, let them pave their own ways and learn more stuff about themselves and get more into the plot and being able to grow as a character, because they are the ones who are deciding their own fates and deciding what happens to them in the story, because more of the characters are all just following around Galadriel's actions, not following around their own actions. Everything's reacting to what she's doing. So yeah, I hope to see some change there maybe. Now, moving on to number 2, more of a focus on Sauron doing evil outright. So of course, season 1 was, who is Sauron? Is it the stranger? Is it Halbrand? Is it that weird looking witchcraft figures from season 1? Who is it? Well, we now know it's Halbrand. Galadriel knows it's Halbrand, but of course the rest of the world doesn't know yet. But it looks like we are, to be more positive, it looks like the show is actually going in this direction, because Showrun has mentioned multiple times around the fact that they're going to see, Sauron's going to be like Walter White season 2. You can take that how you will, but that is quite interesting, and it's going to be a more Sauron focused show all season. In fact, even Charlie Vickers, after season 1 had finished premiering, even said that season 2 there'll be more of a focus on the stuff we got in the books around Sauron, which is in the appendices, for example. So it looks like the show is going in that direction. Of course, he did end up in Mordor, and the rings need to be forged, so we need to see Sauron doing Saron Evil things. We've had his, quirky thing, of course, whatever happened with Galadriel, of, being the cool rogue character through Halbrand in season 1. Now we need to see why they call him a villain, and one of the greatest villains in literature. In at number 1, we have more of a smaller change. I don't think it's major, but I just feel like something that we'll just go with more fine-tuning for the fans like us as well. I'm talking not just Rings of Power fans, Lord of the Rings fans of the films, etc. Because Rings of Power is in like this middle space of course. Is it a prequel, is it not, to the movies? They did have some really interesting callbacks to, for example, look how that Balrog looks. Of course, there is some differences in the horn. They look mostly the same. There were so many other, of course, when Galadriel was riding in the horse that mirrored Arwen in the movies as well. So I just feel like there were some callbacks, but sometimes it just felt like a bit, not too much, but like I feel like there's a way to do it tastefully, and there's a way it can just get a bit annoying. So I feel like just finding that way of connecting to the movies but it not just feeling artificial or like forced would be the best way possible, but not too much as well. I think because, for example, even like Narrator looks nearly exactly the same from the movies as well. Just there is some ways you can do it right, and there's some ways where it can just feel like, okay, you can just tell like, or follow your nose, stuff like that. Maybe that could end up working, and maybe in isolation in a few ways, only a few of these that could work, like Narcissus and follow your nose, but that will just inform a few more things throughout the season. So yeah, that's more of a smaller rant, not even a rant, but just a thing. But again, I don't think it would affect as much as the other 4 points, but I feel like something I would still share in this video. But thank you guys for watching, I really appreciate it. Please let me know your thoughts on this. Of course, the main thing about this is agreeing and disagreeing, just doing it in a nice manner is just the main way to do it. Let me know in the comments. I'll try to respond to as many as I can. I really appreciate everyone who comments. It means a lot and it keeps the discussion going, because of course as of right now there's not as much going out, and of course if you just see the title and just go see Rings of Power and just saying some stupid shit, that's fine as well. You just do your thing. We're just gonna try have discussions about the show, get the much lore in as we can, get discussions in around it, and that's the main thing. But thank you guys for watching. Really appreciate it. Make sure to like and subscribe. But until the next video, my friends, goodbye.